Hello class. Today's lesson is over 3.3 and 3.4, parallel and perpendicular lines. Our objectives today will be to construct new lines with a direct relationship to given parallel and perpendicular lines or coordinates of points on a graph. And the second one will be to determine slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines given coordinates of points on lines or graphs of lines. So first let's review. How can we tell if two lines are parallel? Well, we can tell if two lines are parallel if they have the same slope. So for example, if I gave you these two lines right here, both of these lines have a slope of 2, which would make them parallel. The next question, how can we tell if two lines are perpendicular? We can tell if two lines are perpendicular if the slopes are opposite reciprocals. So say that I gave you these two lines. Y is equal to 2x plus 4, and y is equal to negative 1/2 x minus 12. The slopes of these two lines are 2 and negative 1/2. Remember that an opposite reciprocal is where you flip it and change the sign. So that's why 2 and 1/2 are opposite reciprocals. So if two lines are parallel, their slopes are equal. If two lines are perpendicular, their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So if slope is negative 4, what is the slope of a line perpendicular and parallel to the line? Remember that M stands for slope. So a line parallel to a slope of negative 4 would have a slope of negative 4. A line perpendicular would have an opposite reciprocal, and that would be a positive 1/4. You flip it, so it would be negative 1/4, then you change the sign to get positive 1/4. Remember that the sign for parallel is two straight lines. These look kind of slanted. So I'm talking about the ones right here. Parallel, the sign for perpendicular is right here. Alright, what about if the slope is 7/3? Well, the parallel slope would be the same. It would be 7/3. And the perpendicular slope would be negative 3/7. Now let's talk about how to find slope if we're given points. When given 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, plug them into our slope formula. Slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So for example, if we were given the points negative 4, 3, and 2, 5, you could label these x1, y1, x2, y2, then plug them into the slope formula. Whenever you plug them in, you would get 5 minus 3 over 2 minus negative 4. That would give you 2 over 6, which then simplifies to 1/3. Try these. Find the slope of the line that passes through the points negative 1, 4, and 1, negative 2. So this is your x1, y1, x2, y2. Remember that slope is the change in the y's over the change in the x's. So we're going to have negative 2 minus 4 over positive 1 minus negative 1. That will simplify to negative 6 over 2, which then equals negative 3. So our slope would be negative 3. On the second one, find the slope of the line that passes through 9, negative 3, and 2, 7. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. We put our change in y's over our change in x's. So we have 7 minus 3 minus negative 3 over 2 minus 9. That's going to give us 10 over negative 7, which you can write as negative 10/7. Remember, when you have that double negative, it makes the whole thing positive. Go ahead and try these two on your own. I will put up the answers in just a second. So on the first one, your slope is actually going to be undefined because you cannot divide by 0. So you should have had 6 minus 3 over 2 minus 2, which would give you 3 over 2. That's why it's undefined. You can't divide by 0. This would actually be a vertical line. Vertical lines have an undefined slope. Example 5, we have negative 5/7 and 4/7. So your slope for this one would be 0 because you would have a 0 in the numerator, which would make the whole thing 0. Now we're going to tell slope from a graph. Remember, to tell the slope from a graph, you're going to calculate rise over run. So looking at the blue line, we are going up 2, then we're going to the left 9 spaces. So we're going up 2 and to the left 9 spaces. If we're going up, that's positive. If we're going to the left, that's negative. So our slope is going to be negative 2 over 9.
Chelsea Lou, would you please dial 4278?
The next
Chelsea
one,
Lou, would
we
you
are
please dial
calculating the
4278?
slope
Thank
of the
you.
red line. So looking at the red line, we need to pick 2 points on the line. I'm just going to pick these 2. So I'm going up 2 over 2. Or I could pick these 2 points right here. I'd be going up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So for the slope of the red line, I'm going up 1 over 1, which gives me a slope of positive 1. Now I'm going to look at lines and determine whether they are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, given a set of points. So determine whether AB and CD are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. First, I need to find the slope of AB, and I need to find the slope of CD. So go ahead and pause your video now and find the slope of AB, the slope of CD, for each of the examples. For example 1, the slope of AB is going to be negative 2/3. The slope of CD is going to be 3. Since these don't have the same slope or opposite reciprocal slopes, our answer is going to be neither. The next one, the slope of AB should be 1/3, and the slope of CD should be 1/3. Since these two lines have the same slope, they are going to be parallel. Now let's talk about graphing lines. We are going to graph lines in slope-intercept form. So in slope-intercept form, we have y equals mx plus b, where m stands for the slope and b stands for the y-intercept. When graphing lines in this form, you are going to graph the y-intercept on the y-axis, then count off slope for additional points. So here's our first line. Y is equal to 2x minus 4. First, we're going to graph our y-intercept at negative 4. That's the y-axis at negative 4. Then our slope is telling us to go up 2 over 1, because we can write the slope of 2 is 2 over 1. So we go up 2 over 1 and plot a point. We go up 2 over 1 again, plot another point, and we continue this pattern as long as we can. Once you get at least 3 or more points, you're going to draw your line through those points. Alright, the next one. Our slope is negative 2 over 3. That means we need to go down 2, and then we need to go to the right 3. So first, we graph our y-intercept at 1. I go down 2 over 3. And then notice on this graph, I cannot go down 2 over 3 again. I'd be off the graph. Whenever this happens, you can try going the other direction. So starting in our original point, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to go up 2 to the left 3. That's going to give us a point right here. So we went up 2 and then to the left 3. Now I have enough points to draw my line. Notice when you have a positive slope, you'll have a positive slope of your line. And when you have a negative slope, your line will be going downwards. Now we're going to graph a line parallel to the given line. To graph a parallel line, you first need to know the slope of your original line. So I'm going to pick 2 points on my line. I can see that my slope is going up 1 over 2. So my slope is 1/2. I now need to graph another line anywhere on this graph that has a slope of 1/2. I'm just going to graph mine here. You can see that here's a point and here's a point. I'm going up 1 over 2. From here to here, I'm going up 1 over 2. My line's not perfect. It's supposed to be crossing every up 1 over 2, but in some spots it kind of looks off. Alright, to graph a perpendicular line, you first need to find the slope of the original line. I can see that the slope of this line is going to be down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's negative 3 over 4. The perpendicular slope to this will be the opposite reciprocal. That will be positive 4/3. To graph a perpendicular line, you need to pick a point on your line and then count off the perpendicular slope. So I'm going to pick that point on my line, and now I need to go up 4 over 3 to get another point. And now I need to go the opposite direction to get another point for my line, so I'm going to go down 4 to the left 3. Now that I have 3 points, I'm going to draw my perpendicular line. Remember that perpendicular lines should create a 90-degree angle. If your lines do not look like they're creating a 90-degree angle, you need to check your work. That's all for this lesson. Most of this should have been a review from Algebra 1. If there's still something that you're unsure about, please go back and finish watching the video, rewatch whatever part you need to rewatch. We are only spending 1 day on this material since it is a review from Algebra 1. Have a great day!